Welcome to CFP today, everyone, for Friday, November 8th, as we crawl our way towards all things East Final, West Final. This one, even though my guys Wade and Connor do an exceptional job of covering everything in U Sports, I just wanted to touch on the Yates Cup because I am calling it. Had a chance yesterday to be at the OUA Awards, which I mentioned on yesterday's show, and this is such a cool dynamic. I don't even really want to talk about like X's and O's and Laurier and Western. The basic facts are Western 7-1. Laurier trying to win a Yates Cup on home field for the first time since 2005. They're trying to double down on the victory that they had over the Mustangs earlier this year, which secured them the home field advantage. Like, all of that stuff is great. Taylor Elgersma is the MVP. There's great players all over the field. Jackson Finley, the free safety for Western, I think is easily a top 5 CFL pick going into this year's draft. So if you don't know much about him, check out his highlight reel and everything because he's going to be playing. If you're just interested in the CFL, not necessarily U Sports, check out Jackson Finley because he's going to be a very, very, very talented CFLer. But here's the dynamic I want to talk about that I find so amazing. Greg Marshall coached Michael Faulds, obviously, when he was at Western. So 5 years for Faulds was playing for the Mustangs under Greg Marshall. And Greg Marshall, unbelievable career. He's at, I think, 23 Yates Cups as a player and as a coach. Won the Heck Crichton back in the 70s, national championship as a coach. Like, he's done literally everything that you could imagine at this point in his career for the Mustangs. But he coached Michael Faulds. Michael Faulds begins his coaching career by going to the York Lions, spends 3 years as an offensive coordinator, gets hired to be the head of the Laurier football program back in, I believe, 2016. Takes over that job and immediately starts reshaping it, starts getting alumni to come in, starts hiring different coaches, bringing people in with him that have creative ideas and how can we do things different and smarter and really building a modern program. And it's not that other places aren't. It's just he's really trying to push the boundaries of where can we find the advantages that are in the margins, in these small little spots that will get us over the top and get us into a Yates Cup championship. So Michael Faulds basically goes through this, recruiting process, looking at some quarterback named Taylor Elgersma. Well, if you look at the history of, Michael Faulds and his statistical prowess, it revolves around huge single season passing yardage and career passing yardage and all these things. When he left U Sports, then CIS, Faulds was the all-time leading passer in history. I believe there was that '09 Yates Cup where they had to come on the PA every time that he and Dan Brannigan swapped the award because they were number 1 and number 2. And they were both like fighting for in their final game head-to-head of who can have the most passing yards ever in OUA play and all this stuff. And great theater, amazing. Obviously, if anybody knows how amazing the 2009 Yates Cup was, which, again, 15 years ago? How is that game 15 years ago? But seeing those two guys battling against each other was incredible. And now you've got Faulds coaching a team that's already beaten Western, who are typically kind of deemed undefeatable. And they're going into a Yates Cup, and spoke to him this morning, and his message to them is, you beat Western earlier this season, and I told you, you have the right to win, you should win, you are good enough to win, believe it, get it done, shake their hands, don't celebrate, walk off the field, and let's focus on the next game. And now it's the same message going in again to an OUA championship, with a chance for Faulds to take down the guy that he used to play under at Western. And it made me think as I'm doing my game prep today, is Michael Faulds specifically designed and built to take down the Western program with how he knows they can be defeated because he's lived inside of the system? And it's not that he was a mole and this is like a 20-year operation or something. It's just he seems to understand exactly what needs to be done in order to take down this beast. And for him to communicate that so clearly to his players and recruit at a high level and have great quarterback play, and everything seems to be lining up for Laurier to be able to make some history here coming up on Saturday afternoon. But just like I spoke about yesterday with the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, it's nice to say, yeah, we're on our way to history and we're going to get it done and everything's going to be taken care of. Then you still have to do it. You have to go in and you have to actually accomplish it. So that's the challenge in front of Laurier. The last thing I'll say on this is last year they went back and dove deep into their offensive line, Faulds told me this morning, and basically said, we looked around the country at the powerhouse programs and we recognized their offensive lines are just bigger. Like, they're just bigger in the trenches because he said, if we're just playing touch football, flag football, we can beat anybody in the country. We have those kind of athletes. We have that kind of passing attack. We have those defensive backs. But football is not touch and flag football, regardless of what people think for how it's evolved, because you're trying to make the game safer. So essentially he's in a spot now where he's like, well, We had to get bigger. We had to change the way that we trained in season. We had to try and make sure we maintained the weight, but we wanted to make sure that our guys came in a way that even if some of the weight came off throughout the year, they'd still be able to move bodies in the running game late in the season. So it's like make a mistake, course correct. Make a mistake, course correct. Year over year over year over year. You learn something every single season. Did Laurier learn enough that they can take down Western? We find out together coming up on Saturday. Very excited to call it. I'm alongside Jack Moore on the call of that one, and going to have a great time being able to do that. And then, of course, come back and watch the East Final and the West Final, which should be tremendous as well. Thanks to Fox 40, as always, for supporting everything around here with Canadian football perspective. Have yourselves a wonderful football weekend. Don't think I'll have time on Saturday to squeeze in doing one of these little pods. Maybe I'll do a quick Yates Cup review or even an East Final, West Final review when I get a chance to watch those coming up on Saturday evening. But for now, enjoy the games, everybody. Should be a tremendous weekend. Thanks for listening to CFP today.